Good afternoon, and wow, it is super exciting to be hosting this webinar today. The Women in Solidarity for Energy, or WISE project, was launched just 6 months ago. And today we woke up to the news that we have 400 people registered to participate in the webinar today. So I think we can legitimately celebrate having the largest ever online event in Europe that is focusing exclusively on a reality of women that has previously not gotten much attention. I'll just introduce myself. My name is Marilyn Smith. I'm the founder of the Energy Action Project, or ENACT, which does reporting on energy poverty and who is doing what to address it across Europe and around the world. ENACT is the coordinator of the WISE project, and so we're very happy to be giving you an introduction to the WISE project today, and then some other partners of the WISE project will be jumping in to give us more information. And I am going to share my screen with you now to talk to you about the WISE project. So, yes, Women in Solidarity for Energy is focusing very much on why women are more at risk of being in energy poverty. And I'm going to start out by just sharing a bit of data with you. It's definitely the hidden face of energy poverty in the EU. At present, it's estimated that 8 to 10% of households are in situations of energy poverty. But these aggregate figures mask a really massive gender gap. The shares skyrocket to 44% of single mothers and 31% of all single women. And we use single women to represent, it's not ideal, but we use it as an umbrella term for any woman who is solely responsible for managing household resources, including energy. It's also the case that being a migrant woman in Europe substantially increases the risk of energy poverty. Multiple factors contribute to this, including that such women tend to live in poor quality housing, which drives up their energy consumption and their energy bills. Other factors include that they tend to be in low-paid informal work, and they have very little agency to change their situations, partly because a very large number of them are renters, and they don't really have opportunity to participate in energy or related social policy making to improve their circumstances. I want to let you know that WISE is funded by the Citizens, Equality, Rights and Values program within the DG Justice at the European Commission, which aims to raise awareness of and boost participation of citizens in relevant policy making. And this is important because at the end of this webinar, we are going to ask you to complete a survey about what you learned during our time together. Specifically, WISE has 3 aims across 10 strategically planned events in 7 countries, which include Bulgaria, Croatia, France, Greece, Hungary, Italy, and the Netherlands. WISE will raise awareness of energy injustices already experienced by single women. We'll organize energy solidarity actions to build energy knowledge and know-how of such women. And we're going to lead holistic approaches to align policy and practice to end energy poverty among such women. In the project timeline, we are in the last step of what we call our preparatory phase. So in the 7 countries I mentioned, we have taken the step of creating national collectives, which means we gathered a number of stakeholders who are interested in tackling this problem together. We then organized a pan-European event, which we hosted in Bulgaria in December of 2024, and a couple of smaller side events. And together we had about 170 participants in those events. Now we are hosting a translate-a-thon, and the aim of this is to leverage existing content by making it available in many more EU and also non-EU languages. And this recognizes that there's a huge amount of content relevant to tackling energy poverty in Europe that is mostly available in English. So WISE partners have opted to replicate the concept of a hackathon within the IT community, doing a translate-a-thon within this community. So I'm excited to let you know that we've taken steps to translate awareness materials, home energy saving tips, and empowering policies. And over the past month, we've had about 50 volunteers working across 20 languages and donating about 250 hours of their time. This has included both professional translators and people from across the energy sector or civil society organizations. And on behalf of the many organizations we will share this content with, and the thousands of households we believe it will help, WISE expresses its sincere thanks. We also want to let you know that there's still a lot more to translate, so we will keep this activity open longer and we will welcome new participants. Now back to the project timeline, we can see that the next activities for WISE focus on raising awareness. In April and May of this year, we are going to host film events and panel discussions in each of our partner countries. And certainly if you would like to replicate that event in your own country, we are super happy to help you do that. Then we're going to welcome, we're going to use these events also to recruit and train some energy solidarity volunteers. Most importantly, in months 11 to 20 of this 2-year project, WISE will deliver workshops that aim to directly help women learn about energy and their energy rights. We'll also prepare them to share their stories with decision makers and participate in decision making, partly by giving them storytelling workshops. And you can see in the middle of there, what we're also going to do is organize energy solidarity days, where the volunteers that we've recruited in the raise awareness part will, to the degree that women agree to this, go and visit these women's homes and implement small gestures or small measures that will either improve the thermal comfort for these women or help reduce their energy bills. The final stage is that we will again host national and pan-European events to disseminate the results of the WISE project, and also to make our content that has been developed in the process of WISE, will make that content available on open access principles. So just to give you a quick idea of who you can contact if you're interested in becoming more engaged in WISE. Here are the contacts across the 7 countries: Bulgaria, France, Croatia, Hungary, Greece, Italy, and the Netherlands. And we're going to pop these emails into the chat. And with this, I'm going to close my presentation and hand the floor over to Marlies Hesselman, who has organized this whole work package of the translate-a-thon and also this event. So Marlies, over to you.
So you should be able to see this. We plan to do a warming up exercise with all of you. It's a bit exciting because, as you have seen, we are a very large group and we speak many different languages. So we are also relying on our translators to help out with this. We have prepared 3 questions for you to try to see who is in the room, and we would like to test this with a poll, and we may need a moment to set all of that up. The first question that we will try to ask you is, we would like to know from which country you are joining us today. So the question that we're asking you is, where are you today? When you see the poll appear, please select on your screen in which country you are presently. And you can do that by using the roll down option. And we wait a moment for the answer. And then for a few moments we wait, and then we will show you the answer. Let's see the answers.
People are still voting, so we see that people are still voting, so we can give them a couple of seconds more. Marlies?
We wait.
Okay. We still see people voting. It's a huge number in the waiting room, so it needs some time. Okay, we have 166 responses from 207 participants, meaning that 82% have participated. You have 10 more seconds to vote so that we can share the results to everyone. Thank you. We can share the results, Eleni. Great.
Great. So this is a very good impression of where people are at the moment in different places. We see many people from the Netherlands, but also from Hungary, also from Germany. We are from Greece. This is a bit what we had impression at. But also people are joining us from many other different places. That is excellent. We are from a wide diversity of countries. So the second question that we want to ask you today is, what is your gender? The theme of our project is Women in Solidarity for Energy. And we, of course, hope to see many women in the room today, but this topic is important for all people. It's about solidarity of all genders, and we need the men for this as well. So when you see this question on your screen, please take a moment to select your gender. You can choose indeed female or male or other. Please give your choice.
Okay, 173 have already voted out of 209 participants. Let's give them more seconds, Marlies. Of course, you are not obliged to answer, but it will be good for us to have your response. I think we have reached the maximum. 87% of participants have voted. We can share the results.
Great. It's clear that we are many women today. That's great. We expected that, but we are not alone, as we said. So that's really good to see. The final question is, do you think the right to energy is already recognized in the European Union? The final question is very important for understanding the basic knowledge in the room today. We want to know if you think that this right to energy is already recognized in the European Union, and you can pick yes or no, or I don't know, and hopefully by the end you know a little bit more. Take a moment to cast your vote.
That is great. We have already reached almost 80% of participants that selected their preference and their opinion. Great. It's 85% of those participating. So I think that we can share the results, if that's okay with you, Marlies.
Yes, please share the results.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's a very good and interesting vote. Some people yes, and quite a number of people are not convinced yet that this right is recognized, and then some of you don't know. We will see how your opinions have changed after this afternoon. Thank you for participating in the poll so far.
Giving the floor to Marlies, just to remind, because people are still entering the meeting room, for the ones that feel more comfortable with your national languages, you can choose from the bottom of the screen the word icon, and from there you can choose the language that you prefer to listen to the presentations. Sorry for the intervention, but people are still entering and we need to give the guidelines. Marlies.
I think this is, thank you so much, Marielle, for that introduction. I think we have already done the icebreaker, so we will invite Marielle Feenstra to give her presentation.
So good afternoon, everyone, and I'm really excited to be part of this conference on women and energy poverty, and more specifically, exploring ways how we can reduce energy vulnerability for female-headed households. Today, I'll introduce the gender perspective on energy poverty and explain why women, and particularly those leading households, are more vulnerable when energy prices are increasing. First and foremost, when we talk about gender, it's essential to understand that it goes beyond just women and the difference between men and women. A gender perspective on issues like energy poverty, energy affordability, and access to energy takes a very intersectional approach. And intersectionality acknowledges that not all men or all women share the same experiences. Women, for instance, may have caregiving responsibilities, children to support, varying levels of education, different ethnic backgrounds, and different living conditions. So whether they own or rent their homes, for example. So all these different elements, they play a role in shaping their experiences with energy vulnerability. When we apply a gender lens to the energy consumers in the European Union, we see clear differences in household roles, in particular when we talk about cooking and housework. The latest data from the European Institute for Gender Equality, IGE, shows that women are particularly responsible for daily cooking and household tasks. When it comes to caregiving responsibility for dependent family members, 74% of caregivers are women, with many falling into the category what we call high-intensity carers, meaning they spend more than 5 hours per day on care work. Often, this care work involves energy services like cooking, laundry, cleaning. These figures highlight significant gender disparities and differences in household responsibilities between men and women. When you cannot afford the energy services you need or struggle to pay for daily energy consumption, you can be considered to be in a state of what we call energy poverty or energy vulnerability. There are various definitions and ways to measure energy poverty. Here I'm only presenting one such definition. So the Energy Poverty Observatory says the situation in which individuals or households are not able to adequately heat or cool their homes or meet other required energy services at affordable cost. So when you look at this picture of this woman standing very proudly next to her firewood stack, would you say that she is experiencing energy poverty? I leave you with that question to answer for yourself. So when examining energy poverty through a gender lens, it is crucial to consider intersectionality, as gender and poverty are influenced by many multiple factors. Age, for instance, plays a very significant role in determining energy poverty among women in the European Union. Elderly women are particularly vulnerable, often struggling to meet the energy needs after the loss of a spouse or relying on small pensions, and are living often in very poorly insulated homes. Family responsibilities are also contributing to energy vulnerability. As previously mentioned, many women handle household tasks and caregiving, both of which require energy services. Additionally, the gender income gap persists globally, and the European Union is no exception. Women typically earn less than men, but they also live longer. So they are also more responsible for caring for younger children, sick relatives, other dependents. And as a result, women are more likely to face difficulties in paying and affording the energy bills. Transportation is another critical factor to take into consideration. Many women do not own cars and depend on public transportation, making them more depending on rising transport costs, which can restrict their mobility and access to essential services like care, health, etc. All these factors combined make women, particularly those in vulnerable situations, more affected by energy poverty. The difficulty of paying utility bills has a very strong gender component. According to 2022 data from the European Union, single mothers are significantly more likely to struggle with paying for essential services like water, electricity, and gas, compared to single men or couples, whether they have children or not. Additionally, the gap between single women and single men highlights that women living alone face greater financial difficulties in covering utility costs. This can be partly attributed to gender income gaps, but as as women generally earn less than men. Demographics also play a role, as there are more elderly women living alone than elderly men in the European Union, further increasing the energy vulnerability. When struggling to pay energy bills on time, certain groups are more affected than others. As seen in the previous slides, women living alone, for example, and especially single mothers, face significant challenges in covering their utility bills. Data from May 2022 European Union survey shows that 28% of mothers raising children alone experience delays in paying their utility bills. This highlights the financial strain faced by these households in meeting essential energy needs. The struggle of many households to pay energy bills on time and access essential utilities like water, electricity, and gas is recognized and protected by both the United Nations and the European Commission through various conventions, regulations, and directives. The United Nations emphasized that access to sustainable and affordable energy for all citizens should be safeguarded, supported, and facilitated by national governments. As part of this commitment, the United Nations has established the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which aim to promote a more just, equal, and sustainable future. When examining the link between gender and energy poverty, several of these SDGs play a crucial role in shaping the discussion and addressing these challenges. Here on the slide are a couple of them. The European Commission is committed to integrate the Sustainable Development Goals into its policies. Additionally, it upholds the European pillar of social rights, which outlines 20 fundamental rights essential for sustainable, equitable, and dignified standards of living within the European Union. Among these rights is access to essential services such as energy, electricity, gas, and to ensure universal access to clean and affordable energy. The European Commission encourage, supports, and facilitate national governments and the European Union member states in implementing legislation and financial support systems. In case you're more interested in learning more about the gendered impact of the rising cost of living, this has just been a brief introduction to the connection between gender and energy poverty. Women living alone, and particularly those with caregiving responsibilities, are among the most vulnerable to increased energy prices. One initiative addressing this issue is Women in Solidarity for Energy. Our European program aims at mitigating energy poverty and raising awareness about households struggling to afford the energy bills. I really look forward to the rest of today's conference and the insights from all the breakout sessions that we will have today. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to our discussion later this afternoon. See you then.
Thank you, Marielle, for that great introduction to the theme of you're really one of the key experts in this field, and it is really great to have you in this project. I will now continue with presenting a bit more on the Translatathon and our achievements.
While sharing your presentation, Marlies, just to remind to everyone, because people are still entering the meeting room, that you can find your channels if you need to listen to the presentations to your country language at the bottom of the screen. You can see the globe icon. You can click it. You can see the available languages and select the one that corresponds to your national language. So you will transfer immediately and hear our interpreters. For Bulgaria, there is in the chat box, in the chat room, you can see from our dear colleague Milena Stateva a link that you can follow the text of the presentations. The floor is yours, Marlies.
Thank you. So in my presentation, I will discuss how the materials translated during the translatathon could be used to improve women's rights to energy in a different context. More specifically, we will take a closer look at the content of some of the materials that were translated and how the WISE project is planning to use these materials to promote women's rights across Europe. We will also take a closer look at the concept of the right to energy and how it is framed in one of our key resource materials, the Engage Your Right to Energy Toolkit. And at the end of the presentation, I will invite you to join the debates in our breakout sessions. So Marilyn already introduced several of the materials that we have been working on over the past 28 days. And the first material I want to highlight are Enact 3 short documentary films about how people, including women, experience energy poverty in different ways. The first documentary is set in Liberia, and it shows, for example, how women have to give birth by the light of their mobile phones. The second one is set in Ukraine, and it shows energy poverty in Ukrainian villages before the war. The third video is set in the UK, and it shows how women are struggling with energy bills and to keep their homes warm amid very difficult circumstances. We've been translating the subtitles of several of these films to support our film and debate evenings that the WISE project partners will be hosting in their countries in April and May to inform, to educate, and to debate with people in a way that can draw attention. So if you want to further discuss with us how to improve energy rights literacy in novel and inclusive ways, I will invite you to join breakout session, I think it should be 28, on creative and inclusive energy literacy with Marilyn later on. A second material are Enact's pre-existing 150 energy saving tips for households. These cover a range of energy uses and are intended to empower women to take control over their energy consumption and spending. And as such, they aim to improve women's energy literacy. As Marilyn explained as well, we translated tips in a large amount of languages and have shown these on the social media over the past 28 days. We now, however, hope to advance this debate further because we know that women need advice on how to exercise their energy rights as well, or their right to energy. How could we provide, for example, advice on tackling structural challenges, such as dealing with unclear energy bills or speaking up against powerful energy companies if necessary, taking individual action, or perhaps even better, how to organize and mobilize collectively. In our trainings later in the project, we hope to educate women more about their rights to information about energy, their rights as tenants, access to subsidies for energy transition, or how to complain about violation of their rights. So what is within our control and influence as citizens? This is what we hope to educate and assist women on. Finally, the translation of the Engager Toolkit on the right to energy in Europe. It is being related to our WISE compendium, but also a WISE short brochure on the right to energy. This toolkit is an existing resource also from the EU Cost Action European Energy Poverty that ran between 2017 and 2021. It was a large network of 200 people working on energy poverty across Europe together. And the toolkit was authored by a large group of experts together. Many of them are participating today as well. We are happy to say that we have been able to translate this toolkit as a resource in more than 15 languages. And that means that the toolkit will become widely accessible to a larger audience, also via our website. We hope to use that material later on in our activities as well. And the toolkit explains in detail what it would mean to think about energy from the perspective of a human right. It addresses things such as discrimination and equality, minimum access to energy, the right to affordable access, disconnection bans, inclusive energy transition. And I will talk about some of these elements in more detail now. The translations of the toolkits have been done indeed in quite a number of languages, and they will become available on the website. With this, the toolkit is in line with what many civil society organizations in Europe have been calling for and fighting for, namely the firm recognition of a right to energy in Europe. And people fighting for this right to energy in Europe have also been mobilizing. They have been mobilizing through a right to energy coalition, but also at the national level. There is, for example, the Catalan Alliance Against Energy Poverty, which has been very successful. And one of their campaigners, Irene Gonzalez, is with us today to host the breakout room in Spanish later on. Importantly, civil society is also successful in their struggles for achieving a right to energy. Already several years ago, this Catalan Alliance successfully achieved a strong protection against disconnections in their region. And the Alliance is also specifically working with groups of women to understand what are their needs and rights and to speak up with them and for them. At the EU level, organizations have also successfully pushed for a legal obligation for all member states to fully protect vulnerable households against energy disconnections, either through a ban or through other measures. This must be implemented by 2025, so citizens should keep scrutiny over this. And finally, just last week, one of the most important human rights bodies of Europe decided that energy disconnections violated human rights. States must ensure that adequate energy is guaranteed for all. So human rights frameworks underpin the right to energy, and also this Engage Your Right to Energy toolkit. Not only is the right to energy recognized in the EU pillar of social rights, as Marielle already mentioned, also the UN Women's Rights Treaty refers explicitly to the right to electricity of women in Article 14. This means that there is legal recognition, but the implementation of rights maybe still needs to be improved. If you want to know more about this recent case of the European Committee on Social Rights, please join also breakout session 25 with Maria José Aldenas from Feenstra. So why the right to energy? Well, the right to energy implies that all human beings have certain needs to energy and deserve access to energy. Access to energy is necessary to fulfill many of our basic needs, such as cooking, heating, lighting, cooling, hot water boiling. Access to energy is just as important as other human rights, as was recognized by this Committee on Social Rights, and they are also a prerequisite for it. Importantly, rights come with obligations as well. So human rights as minimum standards in a society would imply that society has a responsibility for making sure that everyone's basic needs are met. This means that the energy system must be organized accordingly. This slide shows some of the basic concepts of the right to energy that are also further explained in this toolkit that we've translated. It explains in some detail which of the elements are part of the right to energy. And first of all, that is the element of having adequate access to meet your daily energy needs, to stay healthy, safe, and to participate in society. And it may also come with a minimum level of access needs. What would a minimum right to access entail in your country? What does everybody really deserve access to? Second, when you talk about adequate access to energy, it must also be affordable. It should be suitable for your income and not affect spending on other household needs, such as food, water, or health. And finally, such a right is also about access to information and being able to participate, have access to justice, and also to have control over energy. I mentioned this right to a minimum guaranteed level of energy that should be necessary for basic health, well-being, and participation in society. And the toolkit shows that there are different ways to define such a minimum. There tends to be a list of minimum energy services that is visible in the literature. And in my own research of the right to energy as a human right, I also found evidence of such elements being supported by international human rights law. At the same time, this minimum can never be defined completely in the abstract, as minimum needs also need to depend on certain personal factors or can depend on the local climate. Such a minimum should therefore be determined by the society together and as relevant to people's personal and local circumstances. If you want to know more about certain things about minimum access, such as solid fuel use and prepayment meters, I would invite you to join these breakout sessions later. That brings me to my last slide, one of the most important slides. A human rights perspective means that every human is important, and it also recognizes that different people will face different challenges in their lives or throughout their lives. Not all women face the same issues or the same vulnerabilities. Right? There are many reasons why some women will struggle more to achieve adequate access with those means available to them because of age, illness, disability, income, profession, their housing situation, their family situation, or the quality of the home. Women in Europe are not all the same, right? Our needs, challenges, and vulnerabilities differ. Sometimes existing laws and existing policies also create such vulnerabilities. For example, through the creation of pension gaps or lack of support for single mothers, or lack of attention to renovations in neighborhoods with many migrants. Energy policy should recognize and respond to that, and it should take targeted approaches and eliminate also the structural barriers. With this, I want to say thank you, but also what is next, right? How can we make the right to energy a reality for all women in Europe? How can we use also the WISE materials to help with this? And at this point, also looking somewhat at the time, if we are not entirely on time, not a major issue because we have some flexibility in the program. And I take us here a moment to remind us of the program and that indeed now it is time to go into our breakout sessions. And in a moment, I will give you the instructions on how to go to these sessions. But first, I will mention the questions for our breakout rooms in more detail, because in each of the different rooms, we will have a different theme or a different country. But the underlying questions will be the same in every room. We are interested to hear from you based on your insights or expertise. What challenges do women face when it comes to the right to energy? But also, how are they affected by energy poverty? And what might be needed to overcome it? What are the structural barriers in your countries or for specific groups of women? And what about challenges of things like disconnections or prepayment meters or the use of solid fuels or inclusive energy transition? What are ways to put the right to energy into practice? Do we need more access to information? Do we need more legal protection? If so, what type? Is more financial support needed? Or how could women come together to mobilize, right? This is it for me. From this moment, we will lead you to the breakout sessions. You can see them here on the screen. On this slide, you will see all the different breakout sessions that you can choose from. They will have a slightly shortened title on the options menu. And soon we will open this breakout session. Then on the bottom of your screen, you can press the room of your choice where you will join the other participants. This may take a moment, and each of the sessions will have a moderator who will know the program and the plan for your room. And they will give a short introduction to the team, potentially, and also share with you a Google document with the relevant information and questions for the room. The sessions will last approximately 40 minutes, after which you will be taken back to this main space. Unfortunately, we may no longer have our translation service available after the sessions, but we hope to see all of you back for some multilingual sharing of insights and lessons learned, with some questions for the Mentimeter as well. And I think this is a good moment to open up the rooms and ask you to please select one of your rooms of choice and to see you in 40 minutes after the session back in the main room. Thanks so much.
Marlies, Marilyn, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, and great to see in the room, engaged in the discussions during the breakout sessions. We could see that some breakout rooms were really quite full. Some breakout rooms were perhaps a bit less full, but that means that you could also have quality discussions in those rooms. That's at least what I hope. We have two parts to this wrap-up session. First, we will try to get a bit of the insights from the room. Of course, we were many different rooms, so we cannot hear back from all of you, but this is what we have the Google documents for, and also we will ask for summaries of all the sessions at the end. So all your input and all your feedback will be feeding back into the WISE project and helping us to move forward and also design our activities. But I would also like to invite a few of the room representatives to give maybe a brief impression of what has happened in their room. And I think one of the large rooms that we had today was the room from Bulgaria. So I would love to invite our Bulgarian room moderators to briefly open up their microphone and share with us what were some of the things that you were discussing, some key insights, maybe some recommendations for the project.
Yes.
Relying on Petya. Petya, can you help?
Yes, I can help.
I can also do it if you don't mind. Whatever works.
Yes.
Whatever
please.
works for you. I can do it if you prefer.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Petya.
so yes, briefly to say what we discussed. Our discussion was actually very personal because people bring their different perspectives into the topic, and also the topic is something that everybody experiences at least once in their life. And we identified that in the national context of Bulgaria, examples of mostly elderly women, women with health issues, or single living mothers experience energy poverty and difficulties with paying their energy bill at the end of the month. And some of the problems or challenges that we're facing is that there's no access to microfinancing, for instance. So people, even if they would like to change their houses, make them more energy efficient in a way, it would be hard for them to do so because there are no any subsidies available, or if there are, they're not really personally targeted at people facing energy poverty. And as recommendations, we saw that, for instance, the concept of one-stop shop could be very helpful because basically people can just show up at this established one-stop shop and just ask for recommendations on how to deal with their personal situation, or maybe more transparency on how energy prices are being established, so that people can see where the problem is coming from, or just in general action from the state on how to make the whole energy system more efficient.
Thank you, Petya. And if someone else wants to add, like Rally or someone else from the group, if we are missing something important, because the time was so little, we couldn't discuss everything and even couldn't make some key points. So if someone wants to now add something, or we can continue the discussion offline in the next months. Arali?
And I guess one positive thing, aside from all the challenges that we identified, was that in general, and it's a very, even let's say, a culturally pretty widespread thing, that there's a high level of general literacy in Bulgaria about some practical tips of energy saving and how to save money through energy. But there is less access to more technical types of education, for example, different types of insulation, different types of plans and subscriptions. So when there's like very high competence in terms of the practical element, there's not so much access to the technical knowledge around energy.
Thank you. I think that's an excellent insight into your breakout room. And I hope that some of the things that you are discussing also is resonating perhaps with other rooms. if you felt that the time in your room was not enough, there is good news, because we are planning to have a follow-up session to this particular session, because we are realizing that also not all women and men people can join during the week. So we will plan, I will tell you more about this in a minute, actually a follow-up meeting on the 15th of March. So I will say a bit more about that. There is an opportunity to talk further also online. Thanks to the Bulgarian room for sharing a few insights. Can I also ask Hungary to share their insights?
Shadow, are you here potentially?
Yeah, I can start and you
Yeah,
can maybe
perfect.
continue, Kata. So yeah, we talked about some Hungarian contacts, like how's the situation of energy poverty and especially energetic conditions of buildings in Hungary, because it's quite a big issue compared to like EU average. The buildings and houses are really not efficient and outdated, and we shared also like personal experiences. And then we also talked about the legal part of the right to energy, basically, like how this is in EU and international law, and how this is reflected in the Hungarian law and the Hungarian legal experiences. And yeah, Kata, maybe you can add something.
Yeah, I really enjoyed collaborating on this with you. We did a lot of preparation on the presentation because I would really wanted to illustrate the divide between the international domain and what's already existing in the discussions, and also the national reality, and what would be really necessary in transforming our idea of electricity, taking it away from being a commodity and really transitioning into thinking about it as a human right and looking at it from a more justiciability enforcement perspective. There's definitely a social change that needs to happen prior to the legal implementation. Unfortunately, there are not many even individual complaints procedures or reports on the international level which are happening yet. But it was a really engaging, we had a very diverse group where we could have a very interesting discussion. So, but I'm looking forward to the follow-up session because there was really not enough time. Thank you.
Thanks so much also to your breakout room for sharing your insight. We saw during the meeting that there were quite a large number of people in the Greek breakout room. So we also wanted to maybe briefly hear what were some of the discussions in the Greek breakout room. I know from previous context that things experienced there also include summer energy poverty. So indeed increasing temperatures, the weather getting warmer, and what does this mean? Can I invite somebody from the Greek room to briefly share their impression?
Yes, of course, I can do that, Marlies, and whoever wants to jump in. First of all, I want to thank the Greek student of University of Groningen, Natalia Papathanasiou, that she kept the minutes, but also she shared briefly her research outcomes and the objectives of her research that is related to the discussion that we have today, but also to thank Anastasia Fragouli, the Greek student of University of Groningen, that did the interpretation. So thank you both, ladies. So we had a very interesting discussion, and that's the case for Bulgaria and Hungary, I assume. The time was not enough. So we need to follow up the discussion. What was discussed is that, unfortunately, even the topic and the phenomenon of energy poverty is discussed for more than 15 years here in our country. It seems that the awareness level seems to be very low, and still people are afraid to discuss and point out that they are facing issues with energy poverty, or they are vulnerable to energy dependence in general. And most of that is that the gender part has never been discussed And it seems that the opportunity for discussing such an issue came up with the WISE project. What we discussed, and it's very interesting, and this is something that an expert in human rights, if I can say, or in gender equality, Alexandra Politaki, and if you want to add more to what we discussed, is that one of the actions that can be taken is that in the new national plan for gender equality, which expires this year, and this means that it needs to be relaunched, redeveloped. It's a great opportunity during the consultation process to add as an action, as an axle of this national plan, the right to energy for women, and to discuss it widely, which I find a very interesting point. And this means that all women that participated in the Greek breakout room, we can discuss it probably further. We can unite and propose specific actions and be very active when the consultation process for the new national plan for gender equality will be launched. We discussed many other things, but definitely those are going to be in the minutes. I don't know, Paulina, if you want to add something as
No,
also.
at the moment, I think that the most important and the idea that I liked more was about the inclusion of women's right to energy in the National Action Plan.
Yes, yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, and this is a great opportunity because it expires this year. I don't know if anyone from the Greek other team that joined the breakout room wants to add something. Don't be shy. Okay. I think that we have a lot of things to do and a lot of work to do with women rights to energy. That's it from the Greek team. Thank you, Marlies.
Great, and
Thank
thanks.
you.
And what I hear is also interesting perspectives from some of the breakout rooms where the discussions are much more coming from your own experience, your lived experience, maybe sometime in your life with energy poverty and how that is helping you to think. And what I hear from this breakout room is people also already thinking also about, oh, how can we transform this into action and maybe also collectively fight for this right and take action. I think that's really amazing. We also had two very well visited thematic breakout rooms. One was on energy poverty in the global north and global south. The other was on women, gender, human rights, and just energy transition. And I had already asked Alejandra before the meeting if she would also be willing to share a bit about her insights, because I was already anticipating that this might be a well-visited breakout room. So Alejandra Lozano from the Global Initiative for Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, can I invite you to make a comment? Are you here?
Yes, thank you so much, Marlies. We had a wide, diverse group, and we took a few minutes to get to know each other, learn who was present in the room, and we discussed a bit of the role of human rights in the energy transition, and what are the gender implications of the current energy paradigm. And unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to cover all of the questions. Today, we only managed to cover the first question that was related to, so it would be wonderful to have the follow-up conversation because we really need to tackle all of the questions that we had prepared. But we did discuss what were the implications for women of the phase out of fossil fuels and what barriers the women face in the inclusive energy transition. And so some participants shared, for instance, how the participation of women in these processes is highly tokenistic. It's not meaningful, and their interests, their needs are not necessarily recognized in these processes. We discussed about energy poverty and how women facing or struggling to pay their energy bills often do need to rely on fossil fuels and other polluting energy sources instead of more cleaner alternatives. So these women having to choose between clean energy solutions and more polluting fuels has to do with their socioeconomic conditions. We also discussed, for instance, how energy face structural barriers to access finance in order to, for instance, implement renewable energy solutions at the household level. So we discussed different challenges that women, girls, and gender diverse people face in this transition to clean, renewable, and efficient energy technologies. But we hope to have more time to discuss other aspects of the energy transition and to continue the conversation. And thanks to everyone who was interested in the session. It was wonderful to hear from you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Alejandra. And I'm sure that the conversations that we're starting here today, or continuing in some senses here today, will be continued further. And maybe one thing you did not mention is that hopefully another good resource that might become available to this community of people working on this topic is that Alejandra is also working on developing a set of principles on gender, human rights, and energy justice. So to also really try to put some of these things through principles into practice. So if you're interested in that, also please follow it. Then the final person I want to invite for a brief insight is the last but not the least breakout group, because it was chaired by Marilyn, and it was about inclusive energy rights literacy. With this translatathon, we have been trying to make a lot of information more accessible to many more women in more languages. And we will also continue with the project to engage in different type of training activities. But there might be a question of how we can do this in an even more creative and inclusive manner. So Marilyn, if you are around, can I invite you? Yeah,
I'm here. Right. So we chatted first a little bit. I gave a couple of ideas to get started with on using inclusive language. And this is very much about putting the individual first and putting the emphasis on the individual and not equating people with the situation that they're in. So we shouldn't talk about energy poor people. We should talk about people who are in situations of energy poverty or energy precarity. We also need to be careful to not suggest that we, coming from the expertise that we have or the positions of privilege that we have, are somehow allowing the groups that we want to reach to engage with us, or giving them power or empowering them or giving them a voice. They have a voice. What we are doing is creating a platform where their voice can be more easily heard, or we're amplifying their voices. And the other point related to that was there's been some debate recently about this term of the people who are, the hard to reach energy consumers. And personally, I really dislike that phrase. And one of the papers that I found earlier this week was talking about we need to talk about these people as the people who are so far unheard. It's not that they don't have a voice. It's not that they don't have expertise. It's not that they don't have opinions. It's that we are not yet in the room with them, and they are not being heard by those of us who need to hear from them. One of the things that I wanted to just bring up about the energy saving tips, and again, we recognize that a lot of people who are, really struggling with keeping their energy bills paid and keeping themselves warm and managing all of those resources that they have to use in their homes, is they really, as you just said, they really know how to use energy quite well. So we shouldn't be talking to them about how to reduce energy consumption or how to reduce their energy bills. We need to talk to them about how to optimize the value that they get from the energy that they use. And so this is, we don't want to come across with the energy saving tips in a sort of preachy way. So we've made them really quite fun and lighthearted, and we've made them visually really appealing. And just to give you one example, on a tip about water and laundry, we talk about on laundry day, you need to be cold-hearted with your clothes. And the idea of that is to use cold water, because detergents today are made to work in cold water. And if you use cold water, you're going to use less energy to heat your water, and you're going to have a lower energy bill. But it's just kind of fun. And I was saying to the group that the interns I've had over a couple of years that have worked on the energy saving tips have had a lot of fun creating them, but they've also subsequently emailed me at times and say, I still do that thing, 2 years later. And so the energy saving tips are not exclusively for the target group and WISE. They're for all of us. We all need to use energy in a way that optimizes energy use more, and just, be practical and recognize that it makes sense to do these things. I think that's it for me.
Thanks, Marilyn. And thank you all for giving this feedback on your sessions. Like I said, we are a very big group. We are still, last time I checked, over 100 people online. So we actually want to find a way to hear from all of you. So what we will do is another short experiment with a Mentimeter, where we are really interested to hear what is your takeaway from this session? What does the right to energy mean to you after having heard our presentations, having been in the discussions, but also what should be next? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and lead you to what is called a Mentimeter. I can start it here. So the first question that I would like to put forward to the room is, what does the right to energy mean to you? And you are able to answer this question by joining us at menti.com. So if you are on your computer, please travel to the website menti.com and type in the code that you see at the top of your screen. That will bring you to the quiz that we are doing at the moment. And if you enter the code there, you should be able to see this question and you could give us a response. And then as you enter your response, I think the aim should be that a word cloud is forming. So give us your short ideas about what the right to energy means to you after you have, like I said, heard all the presentations, been in the discussions. What does it stand for? What should it achieve, right? Or how would you call on it? If you could call on it in front of an ombudsman or an energy company or a court, right? If you want to claim something, what is this right about? Great, I'm seeing some great things emerging here. And keep adding, everybody. We see a counter at the bottom to see how many people are responding so far. And I think we can already see a number of different things pop out very clearly. It's about a human right. This right is a human right. It's not a consumer right, perhaps. It's really a human right. And one of the main things that people need is that their energy is affordable. But I'm also seeing the word sustainable becoming increasingly bigger. It's about equality, justice, transparency, necessity. It's not just about the minimum level, which I see mentioned, but it's also about comfort and dignity, empowerment, security, fairness, safety. I love it, to be honest. I think these are all, in my view, I would pick similar words to describe what the right to energy means to you. Let's take a few more moments to capture a few more examples, because I think we have at the moment about 60 people entering different words, 128 times. And once we finish the word cloud, we will have another question for you that is not a word cloud, but more an overview question. Great. Yeah, and we see that different words come up in different ways, right? Dignity has maybe different terms or might appear in different ways. Affordability comes back. But I think this is a beautiful picture of what the right to energy means. And we actually might be inclined to share this on our social media also after the event to show you what the outcome of the session has been. Right. I would say with that, let's go to our next question. Somebody has actually actively typed on the screen. This I like. We also take control here, right? That's also what we, what the right to energy is about. What have you learned today? right? Is there, after this session, a key takeaway that you take home? But is there something that you didn't know before yet that you now know, or that you started to think about? Please, in your Mentimeter screens, type in for us a few words about what you learned today. We are curious, what are the key takeaways? Any new lessons about the right to energy? There were, due to the great involvement of the University of Groningen students from the Faculty of Law, I think there was also quite a heavy group of lawyers in the room, human rights scholars, energy law students. So I'm curious whether or not that has informed some of the debates. Did we learn something from that? I see a number of really good responses again. We are not alone in this. It is about the solidarity. It's about fighting gender inequality. Energy literacy is mentioned twice. Taking a holistic approach rather than one size fits all. The context matters. Intersectionality. Political activism. This one I love as well. All the women have been taught that they should remain silent, as raising their voice has consequences. So they are keeping other women silent too, right? Also, basic insights. How big is the energy poverty problem in Europe really? I really thank you so much for these answers. I don't think it will be possible for us to go through all of them now, but we are taking all of these comments to us in the WISE project, and also think, okay, what have we managed to achieve with this session, but also maybe where are still some elements where in our activities we can pay further attention to. Energy justice, I think, is a great comment to end on, because in the end, indeed, thinking about women's rights to energy is also a matter of energy justice, because in often cases we are also trying to think about who is indeed staying behind and for what reason, and is there a structural cause to that? Is there a cause that is perhaps unjust? It is not just about discrimination or inequality, but it may also really be about things having been unjust for a longer period of time. All right, thank you so much for the answers. I will share with you one final question. What is next for women's rights to energy? And again, it's an open question. So from the things that you've learned, from the things that you've thought about, what should be a next step to make women's rights to energy in Europe, or maybe in the global south, because that has also been discussed, a reality? What would be concrete steps that you could undertake in your country, or you could undertake in your work, or maybe you think that the WISE project could act upon? What's next for women's rights to energy? Take a moment to think about this question. Fighting patriarchy. I think that's a good start. Improving energy literacy, right? Making sure that we have an explicit recognition of the right. I also see here a contribution from one of our international participants or non-English speaking participants. If there's anybody who can help me translate this, that would be also welcome. This I love, more WISE projects. I agree. It's time for us to speak up and make female voices be heard, because we are already speaking. Amazing. Disseminating the toolkit to a wide audience of actors. We will definitely work on that. Practical measures such as special compensation for female-headed households, acknowledging that women may need a little bit of extra support. Bridging gaps in legal protection where they are existing. Empowering women. Gender equality in all areas. adapting funding schemes again to maybe what are women's needs, empowerment. Somebody's agreeing, yes, fight patriarchy. I love how even on this form we are managing to have dialogues. I hope that we will continue these dialogues offline and online. I think this is a good moment for us to close this interactive moment. Thank you again for sharing all your ideas. What we have left for you is a brief introduction to what is next with WISE, what are some of our activities that are upcoming where you can participate. And also we have the EU Serve survey, the questionnaire that Marilyn will briefly explain to you about as well to fill in as an outcome of the project. Or of the meeting, I'm sorry. Let me briefly share the PowerPoint of what's next. This thing is in the way. I will be relatively brief about this with an eye onto the time. What's next? First of all, this event that I've already announced, the plan is to have an additional pan-European event. It might not be as big as this one, but we certainly hope it will be big, with the idea that we also want to include women who are not able to participate during the week because they are juggling many different jobs at the same time, maybe trying to survive in that way. Not everybody has the luxury to join during the day or during the type of work that they have. So we will organize on Saturday, 15th March, a week after International Women's Day, another opportunity for us to discuss further on this topic. It will be from 3 o'clock to 4:30 Central European time, or if you are on a slightly different time, it might be an hour earlier or an hour later. Please join us to further discuss on how to make this right to energy and how to put energy solidarity also into practice. Finally, a brief recap of what Marilyn also said during the first presentation. We will work on a number of different activities over the coming months and over the next year and a half of our project. We will work on disseminating our materials. A key site for that is our website. I hope that one of the assistants can also share it for you in the chat. Our next activity will be the organization of a number of film events and debate events, or film events with debate, that will take place especially in the 7 WISE partner countries. In the Netherlands, we will have 3 different events at 3 different cities around the Netherlands, for example. And we will show some of the documentaries of ENACT, but also other videos to really kickstart also a debate at the national level. Please visit our website, stay in touch with the different national collectives as well to try to understand what's going on and join. Other events that we will have a bit later in the project, keep posted, are the trainings on energy rights literacy for women, or solidarity days and storytelling workshops. If you would like to have an opportunity to have a pan-European meeting in person, the next opportunity for that will be probably sometime around June 2026. It's our closing event. Please engage, join us on LinkedIn, and try to follow us. I think this is the moment where Marilyn will jump in to also explain you about the SERV questionnaire. Thanks for me so much, and I hope that we stay in touch throughout the project.
I'm not going to take any risks trying to share my screen this time. So
yes, no worries, Marilyn. Ellen is doing that now.
Great,
no
thank you. So yeah, if you can just pop it into the full screen mode, that'd be great. So the EU survey on justice, rights and values, if you click once, it is an online tool that is developed by the Citizens Equality Rights and Values Program to measure what participants learn through WISE events or the events of all of the other projects that they're supporting. It's important to understand that your responses will be anonymous. If you click again, I'm going to tell you realistically, it will take you 10 to 15 minutes to complete this. You can either do it now or on your own time later. We're about to give you a QR code that you can use right away or save and do it later. Click again. It's really important for us that you do this. Your engagement is vital to demonstrating the value of the WISE project. So it really is super useful if you can take the 10 or 15 minutes that is required. Click one more time and the QR code will show up. So quickly, if you want, do a screen capture of that or open it up right away. And if you click again, Eleni, then you can see that you can complete this survey in whatever language you want to, but you need to go to that little menu icon in the right-hand corner that is circled there and select the language that you want and click again, Eleni. And you need to include all of this information so that your responses are linked to our project. So you need to include the project number, which is listed there, the type of activity it is, and I think there's a drop-down menu for that, so you choose awareness raising, the title of this event. Next time we'll try to do shorter titles so you don't have to type in so much. The date of this event, which actually should be the 5th, I must have typed that incorrectly, sorry about that. And again, that it was an online event. So I'm just going to leave this screen up. So you can either take a picture of the whole screen or, as I said, do a scan of the QR code and start filling in the survey now if you'd like. But yeah, it does take time, but we really would like you to go ahead and do this. And we will, maybe we'll share this by email to everybody that registered.
Yes, no worries, Marilyn. We will use the list, the registration list, the
Right.
attendance list actually, and we will share also this specific slide with all the information.
Great.
This can be done tomorrow morning. So yeah, no worries, you are not going to miss it.
Excellent. Good, good, good. And people have been asking, I've seen in the chat, are we going to save the chat? Yes, we will. And I'm sure that Marlies has been saving her Mentimeter elements. And so we're going to be able to use those for our content. And the website is up and it's not fully developed yet, but after today, we're going to have a whole bunch of new content to add to it. The next area on the website that we're going to develop is a resource area where we will put content that we're creating, papers, reports that we're doing, but also we'll be inviting people to send us other content that people should be aware of in relation to women and energy precarity and energy solidarity. So I think that's it. We've had a fantastic couple of hours, and I'm so grateful that so many people have come. If you do have any questions, again, I'll just take my email address into the chat box here. And if there's somebody else that you would rather reach from one of the other WISE partners, just contact me first, and then I will put you in touch with the right people. And that's it. Marlies, do you want to say any last words? This was your baby. Again, thank you to you and your team.
Yes, no, thanks to everybody. It was really a collective effort. So I really want to thank everybody in the WISE project, all the partners from the 7 countries for making this success, reaching out to so many women and other persons across Europe to come to join here. I want to thank all the moderators of the rooms very much for all their efforts and work, the note takers, students from the University of Groningen, interns from 75 Inc. We cannot do it without you, and we hope to grow this movement going forward. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your evenings or your mornings in some cases, wherever you are, and to see you soon.